we're calling this meeting to order. This is the Amador County Board of Supervisors meeting for Tuesday, January 14th, 2025. Would you please join us? Pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, thank you. The board met in closed session this morning. Item 1, conference with real property negotiators. Direction was given. Item 2, conference with county council, anticipated litigation. This was claim of Selman Tildesley. Claim was denied. And item number 3, conference minutes were approved. With that, we're going to public matters, and before we take any comment, I'd like to have a moment of silence for 3 different items. One, we have the victims of fire in Malibu. Many people lost their homes, and last I heard 24 people died in Malibu in the fires. And I'd like to have a moment of silence for victims of fire. Well, thank you. And also, we had a local well-known gentleman who passed away. It's been a while since we had a meeting. It's been a little while, but Bill Lavielle, he was a local photographer, took a lot of pictures around the county, very well liked, very nice man, and he passed away. So I'd also like to have a moment of silence for Mr. Lavielle. Well, thank you. And also, we lost one of our presidents, President Carter. I think he's probably the oldest president we ever had. He passed away, like 100 years old. So also, like a moment of silence for President Carter. Well, thank you. Is there any members of the public that would like to comment on any item that's not on the agenda? Mr. Carollo, I know how you can get expounding on items. So it's a 3-minute time limit, Mr. Carollo. But if you go to 5, we can understand. Maybe even 6.
My wife said, "Cut it short, baby." Hi, I'm John Carollo, treasurer of the Kit Carson Mountain Men, known under this title as Hawkeye. And about 3 weeks ago, I took a tour with the Chauncey Foundation to the California State Parks Archive facilities at McClellan Air Force Base. It was a wonderful tour of thousands of artifacts that are there. And I asked him, I said, I understand through rumors that the famous Kit Carson tree, Blaze, is no longer in Sutter's Fort, but is here in the warehouse. He said, yes, it is. And I said, can we look at it? So we all walked over there and got to see the tree. And they said, well, we don't think Kit Carson carved it, and we don't think it should be in Sutter's Fort. Well, really? So that really irritated me. They said, well, we think Kit Carson was illiterate and he couldn't sign his own name. I had done a lot of research, found that Kit Carson spoke English, Spanish, and French, 5 different Native American languages, as well as sign language. I also, in my research, found that there's 18 documents at Bancroft with his signature and letters that he's written. So I questioned that, but I didn't do it there in front of them.
Well, I would say this, Mr. Carollo.
Pardon me?
He may have been, supposedly they're saying he may have been illiterate, but he showed us the way.
He sure did. And Anyhow, this is for you guys. In 1888, the Board of Supervisors of Amador County, concerned about the Kit Carson tree, had it cut down for preservation of it, was turned over to the California pioneers in San Francisco for safekeeping until the completion of the restoration of Sutter's Fort in the 1890s, the early 1890s, and was put on display in the 1890s at Sutter's Fort, and has been there for the last 125 years. Now, the present administration that's handling the Parks and Recreation have had it removed. Now, it is the jewel of Amador County. It's actually one of the keystones of our history. I'm requesting that the Board of Supervisors maybe pass a resolution or some request to have it returned back to Amador County if it's not going to be put on display at Sutter's Fort. As a kid growing up in Sacramento, it was one of the jewels at Sutter's Fort. And it could be one of the jewels at the Amador County Museum or one of the other county buildings here for tourism and everything else. But it is our history. Controversy over it, did he carve it or not, who knows? But the supervisors in 1888 felt it was important. And I think you guys, the guardians of our county history, would also think the same thing. So I'm requesting that you guys support the Kit Carson Mountain Men Club, which has voted unanimously to pursue this. That's for the supervisors. We're going to send one over to the newspaper. I ironically have the original photograph of the cutting of the tree down. And that's
How big is that tree, John? Is looks like 3-4 foot in diameter?
It's about this big around. And the blaze is this big.
2 foot.
Yeah. And like I said, it was cut down in 1880.
How tall is that section they have in that type of
Section is
museum of the parks? Okay.
Yeah.
So, but something you
Manageable. That's
Yeah.
what I was
Manageable,
thinking.
yes.
Where we're going to put it.
Like I said, you know, thank God the California pioneers did not keep it in their possession, because the San Francisco earthquake and fire, their building burnt down, and we lost the Bear flag, Fremont's cannon, and a lot of other things, including Joaquin Murrieta's head, were all on display there. And this was moved to Sutter's Fort. It was, you know, now it's up to you guardians to see if they're going to put it back in the fort. If not, then I think it should be brought back to Amador County. Thank you, gentlemen, for your time.
Thank you. Seems like a fair request, John.
Maybe we could do something where they could put it on loan even.
John, you want your picture back, or?
That's for you guys.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Any other members of the public like to address the board on any item?
Oral Custer from my own.
Good morning.
Most members of the board probably know me. This morning, I just wanted to share a little bit about a proposal that our nonprofit group has to bring housing and restore the housing at Old Preston School of Industry. The Veterans Circle there has 28 houses, I think, that have been, well, just been left to collect dust over the last 12 years. So I just prepared just a really brief statement here, and it's not, what I think might work is if we could be placed on the agenda. I haven't had an opportunity to share with Supervisor Epperson yet, but based on this, I think that there should be a study, and I would like to look at perhaps a committee that we could share further with about housing at Preston. Okay, for more than a decade, there's been a need to restore the housing of Veterans Circle at the Preston School of Industry in Ione. The need increased as the property deteriorated. This was left only minimal maintenance by the State Department of Corrections. That meant occasional visits by maintenance staff at Mill Creek Prison. But nothing was done to bring back a constructive use of the property. In 2016, a local group of Ione friends started a nonprofit with Mark Tresner, Leon Panos, and Rick Johnson. We named it Historic Preston Restoration Foundation for the primary purpose of meeting the rising need to begin to share the value and purpose of redevelopment. But it seemed there was opposition from local government. Some in Ione might not have been, or might have been jealous of the plan that we developed for a technical academy. And there was little or no support from the now outgoing supervisor, second district supervisor. But we have a new supervisor we're very, very proud of. Probably best to say, okay, we want to stay above any personal animosities, although I can't help but point out how defensive Governor Newsom was when he spoke of Trump-proofing California. Rather like millennia ago when the Emperor Nero said he fiddled while Rome burned. That happened in Southern California. But now there's an even greater need to develop the 28 houses. On Veterans Circle and Palm Drive, just south of the landmark Preston Castle, there have been devastating fires in Southland. The National Weather Service has reported how the winds and flames actually created weather that has not been seen before. Many people have lost homes that they will never be able to rebuild, even those wealthy and high status. That is why we need veterans housing, and it's so urgent at this time. Our nonprofit has not only has the viable plan, but the professional capability to lead out in this urgent project. So the outline that we have, I have an outline that was created 3 years ago, but it's a little outdated now. For an agency to take the property from the state that will never, the state has not done anything with the property. Not done anything with it and probably will not. An agency like the Federal Department of Veterans Affairs or the County of Amador, we feel would be best to sponsor. And this could be anything from simply supporting and sponsoring and endorsing all the way to actually receiving and taking in transfer the property. Yes. Oh.
I was just listening.
Sorry, Brian. Okay. So dealing with worthy military veterans, we will contract to guide the project. Meeting the need for immediate housing is most important. If supervisors decide to take the lead, there will be revenue for the county. And the project will be performing a tremendous public service. We'd like to work with a committee of two, and I was thinking of Patrick Crew and Supervisor Epperson. But that's essentially what I have. Thank you very much. You have any questions?
This time.
Well, I just have a statement. I went and got volunteered into cutting some trees down there by the Preston Castle. They were worried about fire down there. And when I was there, I was kind of looking around, and it is kind of a shame. There's a lot of houses down there.
Yes.
We have a housing crisis, which we do, and there's probably, roughly 30 houses down there. And you got the one real big house, has a dead tree, big dead tree right next to it. I thought, well, that's going to probably fall through the roof. And then we'll have to tear that historic structure down. It's kind of sad, because also the state down there shut off the water to all the redwoods and killed all the redwoods here in the drought.
Yeah, about 6 years ago.
So, I mean, I wouldn't be against exploring, if the board wanted to, seeing, hey, if there's a way to rehabilitate that area down there. And I was talking to Carl Knobloch, and he believed, he had heard that they put about $600,000 a year into kind of like doing fire maintenance down there.
Yes.
And I guess that's been cut out of the governor's budget, or the CDCR's budget, it appears.
Oh, I didn't
So,
know that.
Yeah, I think the state really ought to get on the ball and do something down there. I don't disagree with that. A lot of nice housing, probably needs a lot of money put into them, but there are a lot of nice homes that could be refurbished. So I agree with what you're saying. Whether it ever happened or not with the state, that's another matter, Mr. Custer.
I just wondered what.
Would you want to look into that?
Yeah, I'll look into it. I know some contacts at the state. I'll see if we're still there or not. So,
Yeah.
I'll get a hold of the facilities down there and talk to them and see what the status is and figure it out. I mean,
That
I think-
land is also within the city of Ione.
it is correct, yeah.
Yeah.
So they should probably be included in anything that.
That'd be a good thing, true.
Probably need one supervisor and one city councilman.
I'll meet with the manager down there here shortly and have a discussion regarding the situation, see what we can come up with.
So I think it probably wouldn't hurt if the county could help the city, or if the city wants any help, I'd be more than willing to, as far as a board member, it'd be a good thing for the whole county.
Thank you. I might just mention that when it was closed in 2011, the state actually, Deborah Heisen at the time was leading in corrections, and she asked that perhaps the county might be interested in taking the property. And that's been, 12 years ago. So at the time, of course, the county was concerned about money, as you
Still
probably
is.
still are.
Have you seen our roads?
Back then.
But it's a lot different now, and there's such a great need. There's such a great need after you've seen what happened in Los Angeles.
Well, okay.
I'll do a little digging
Thank you,
around. I'll
Mr.
meet
Custer.
with Manager Lee and see what we can come up with and figure out what's up. So,
Thank you very much.
thank you, World.
Any other members of the public? Seeing none. On another item, we have 2 new board members.
In case you hadn't noticed.
Yeah, we have Mr. Dan Epperson. He's representing District 2, Ione. Welcome aboard, Dan.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Welcome. Appreciate it.
And then we have Logan Carnell. He's representing District 4. And welcome aboard. So I'm sure we'll get along. I'm sure we'll have a few problems along the way, too. So we'll try to,
Look forward
I
to
think,
it.
just try to do what's best for the people we represent, and that's
That's right.
what we got to do.
Yes.
So,
Brian.
Mr. Chair, I have something under public.
yes, sir.
Okay. The county's having a green waste cleanup at Pioneer Park at the lower baseball field from January 31st through February 2nd. Anybody can come during those times. And then we're also, Foothill Conservancy is doing a River Road cleanup on January 18th, which is this Saturday at 10 o'clock.
You're not going to try to beat the size of last year's pile, are you?
No,
Thank you.
I'm not in charge of it this time,
Oh, okay.
and that's all I have.
Okay. One thing I would like to say, been beating on that drum for a long time. We're in wintertime in Amador County. Don't really have any other than structural fires, no real fire issues, major fire issues, but look what's happened down in LA. Those towns are getting wiped out. And a while back, I cut a tree for a lady who has a tree up in, a few months ago. It was kind of in the summer, up in that, kind of like around that Sierra Pines. And she's worried about hitting some little small trees. And I told her, hey, those small trees really should be gone. 95% of them should be gone. Just don't worry about it. Oh, she didn't want. I said, well, those trees and your neighbor's trees and those other trees over there will probably burn all your houses if we have a fire. Your neighborhood ought to get together and cut them down. Oh, she did not want to cut those trees. They didn't. It wasn't like they're even a shield on the neighbor's house. They're just trees, just a whole bunch of thicket of trees. And the point whoever's listening out there, clean up around your homes, cut down bushes, cut down trees, cut down stuff, clean up leaves. When you get all done cutting down what trees you think you should cut down, my advice, cut at least 50% or double more, and you're getting close. because this county here, hey, we're not that much different than LA. And it's a matter, what LA hit down there, I mean, you can't get enough firefighters, you can't get enough firefighting airplanes, bulldozers, whatever. It's, the only thing to save any homes down there would be pre-planning, doing your work ahead of time. Now, when you get a subdivision like that, yeah, the subdivision becomes the fuel, the houses do, but up here, a lot of times people, you can clear around your homes, and the home you save might very well be your own and maybe your neighbor's. So just some food for thought. And I really do have a lot of sympathy for those people down there getting burned out of your home. I mean, what's going on down there is a real tragedy, and I think we should do all we can do up here to not have that tragedy hit here. That's all I have to say in that matter. Moving on, we're having approval of items on the consent agenda with one change on item 5L. I thought maybe his name was legally Gerald Poor, but I guess he's saying he'd like to have changed from Gerald Poor to Jerry Poor. So with that change, we're looking for an approval agenda. And that change is on the consent agenda, by the way.
You got to do the agenda first.
Yeah.
Move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second?
Motion by Crew, second by Brown. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Carries unanimous. And now we're looking for approval of items on the consent agenda with that one change in item 5L.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion by Brown, a second by Epperson. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Carries unanimous. Moving on down, item 4, regular agenda. First item is 4A, Board of Supervisors, discussion and possible action relative to election of the 2025 chairman and vice chairman for the Amador County Board of Supervisors. So, you're probably next up in line, aren't you,
Yep,
Supervisor Crew?
if we stay with the same rotation.
Yeah, and when we've had a rotation for a lot of years, it's not necessarily numerical order, it got kicked out of order. And I think it's probably a good thing. It's this way here, it's, unless somebody's really doing some real stupid stuff, every district gets their turn. It probably stops some of the political machinations that you see in political bodies. And I think so. Supervisor Crew is up to be chair, and Supervisor Brown is up to be vice chair. So, any discussion? Seeing none, looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion to appoint Supervisor Crew as the chairman.
When do the vice chair at the same time?
Oh, sure, and appoint Jeff Brown, Supervisor Brown, as the vice chair.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Epperson and a second by Carnell. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Carries unanimous. Next up is item 4B, passing of the gavel and presentation. Passing the gavel to the incoming 2025 chairman of the Board of Supervisors and presentation of plaque honoring outgoing chairman Brian Onetto.
Already got your plaque, huh?
So I guess I'm getting kicked out of here. I've been kicked out of better places.
This way, if you want to stay here, we'll switch things.
I like the idea, Pat. So we'll just go ahead and pass the chairman placard down there, and you'll stay where you're at, and we'll
Okay.
pass the plaque.
There we go.
You can present the plaque probably.
There you go.
Yeah. Better read it first.
Whoops, I lost it. Lost the chair.
Oh, I see.
Got to change the name too, probably.
I thought they put a, you've already got one. I thought you
Yeah.
put it, but you got two more to go.
Yeah.
Ta-da. Took it right on out. Grabbing the two doors.
Want to make sure you're putting it upside down.
Would I do that to you?
Yep.
Yes.
So now you can pass to me.
All right. I had a few comments. Brian, it was a wild year. We had a lot going on. We got a lot done. We had a few disagreements, but
Oh, yeah.
all in all, it was a productive year, and congratulations. And like you said, you want one for each kid, you got 2 more to go.
Thank you, Pat. No, I'm there.
Oh, that did it?
That's it.
Okay.
Well, Chairman Crew?
All right. We will move on to 4C, request to advertise ITB 24-25 State Route 88 Pine Grove Corridor Improvement Project. Bids to be received, their suggested actions. So we have a presentation. I see Mr. Vila is here and Mr. Gedney. Do you want to kick this off?
Good morning, Board.
Morning.
Richard Vila, Public Works
Morning.
Director. One thing right off the bat, this was originally going to be, was proposed to be on the agenda in December, and it was moved onto this meeting's agenda. So there's a couple corrections I want to make up front. The advertisement to bid ITB number is now 25-01.
Okay.
And the bids we received is March 13th. On the suggested action, the old bid received date of February 13th should be changed to March 13th. And I apologize for that as we move the item from one meeting agenda to the next one. I was remiss in making these changes. The information in your packets are correct and up to date.
Okay.
You know, as far as the corrections, one other thing too. It says somewhere, have we notified Caltrans that Mark Hopkins is no longer the contact? We should probably change that if we haven't. For the county.
Yes.
Okay.
Rich, do you want to talk a little bit about what's been cut back to make this project hopefully more economical?
Sure. And also, given the interest in this project and discussion that's had on it, typically this request would be on your consent agenda, but it was thought that it was best be on your regular agenda.
Good idea.
So, just to kind of go back and give a brief history of where we're at. In late fall 2023, this project was put out to bid, and the bids were received at the end of the year, and the bids were in excess of the available project funding for the project. And so the board provided direction to staff to reduce the scope of the project to fit the available funding. So the project that was originally bid out was improvements starting at the Ridge Road intersection of Highway 88 and Pine Grove, and continuing eastward to just east of the elementary school there in Pine Grove along Highway 88. In the reduction of the scope, the project has been shortened so that the western limit is approximately at Irish Town Road. Actually, the majority of the work really starts at Church Street, but there's a little bit of work that extends to Irish Town. But from there to the original east terminus of the project, just east of the elementary school. So we've gone ahead and pursued that reduction in scope. We had to do revisions to the project plan specification and estimate, had to update the utility coordination. We've had to extend temporary construction easements for the affected parcels in this new scope area, and had to have our environmental documents recertified for this project. So that's what has occurred in this last year. The project now is ready for bid. The engineer's estimate on this is $7.125 million. Again, the bids are to be received in March 13th, 2025. And as far as project duration, it will probably extend into the spring of 2026 if we can get started around in May timeframe of this year. The available funding for this project is approximately $9.8 million. So I think we have an amount there that would, if we have a contingency that probably in excess of 10% for construction. It's not the greatest contingency, but there's contingency there, I think a reasonable contingency. So that's basically where we're at. So like I say, typically this would just be a consent item and just move forward, but it's such an interesting project for the board, and it's a good way to kick off the new board, the new members. They get a nice, you guys didn't give them a softball to deal with here, so.
They mentioned that.
So with that, that's,
Now, we had an email that went around that if we cancel this project, that all the money would go back to the state slush fund. Is that correct?
that's the indication I have heard as well. That would go back to the state for.
It wouldn't just go back to ACTC. It would go
That's-
back to the state.
It wouldn't be all the money, but it would be the lion's share for sure.
Right.
That's the understanding I got from that correspondence as well.
Okay.
So Richard, just as an aside, saying we can't get the money back, could we, because if they're gonna take it away from Pine Grove, couldn't they put it towards the Fiddletown Road project and maybe finishing the Plymouth Walkway, the short of money that we heard about some time ago that's supposed to go to Veterans Park and they ran out of money? So they'd still get the benefit of having the money would stay in Amador County, we just work on different projects.
I can't really comment on that,
You know, it's so logical, it probably has no chance of
Yeah.
working.
As far as how the money gets appropriated and the silos that it can go into, I'm not sure.
And I'm not either. But my feeling is we shouldn't just roll over and do a bad project because we're already in it. And if we can't get the money, we got a little gal about this tall who's used to dealing with Caltrans. She got Sinopolis to come to the table, so I would risk 100,000 to get 6 million back every day of the week. If she'd even do it, but those are all conversations we can have.
There's that, and also, just on a side note, it kind of rankles that, I think here, just last month or so, we signed some documents paying the school district for
Yeah.
construction easements, and I thought, it's supposed to be in for the school district. That's one of the clarion calls, and I haven't really seen the school district put in $1. I haven't really heard them comment on it much, and then we have to pay them for the luxury of trying to do something that's supposedly a school. I don't know if they want it or don't want it, but it kind of makes a person wonder a little bit. I'm not saying I'm looking to go forward with it. I'm not, but I mean, we may have to. Question I'd have, if we did go forward, could we structure a payment so if there's any additional funds or any funds in there that are left over, it could come out, so it could be a pot, we reserve a pot that would come back to the county. That'd be one question I'd have, because there's a lot of different sources, and some are local dollars that we probably control. Is there a way you could structure it so if we go, I'm not saying I want to go forward, I don't know if we will, but if we did, take our dollars out of maybe like the shop funding and maybe like the STIP RIP shares, and maybe leave like the local LTF funds and local developer fees the very last, so if we have leftover dollars, at least those come back.
That's a good question. I don't know if I have a good answer for that. On some of those dollars, some of the items in construction may be most likely tied to those dollars. In other words, you say, well, if you do this, it's this type of funding, like the CMAQ funding. That would have some specific items in the contract that would kind of match up to that. So there may be some of that involved. But I don't have a good answer. It's like you can cherry pick, say, look, we're going to use all these funds first, and we're going to go to these funds.
Yeah, that's kind of the question, really.
Yeah, I don't know, John, if you've got any comment on that or not. John Gedney with ACTC.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. John Gedney, ACTC. It is complicated. The funding package is a combination of local, state, and federal resources. One example I'd give you just to kind of tell you how the money can come back is the Plymouth Roundabout project, completed 7 or 8 years ago or so. Just last June, we received a residual amount of CMAQ money, about $51,000, that was extra after construction was completed. And it was also available after the final closeout had been completed for the project. That money was actually able to be transferred to this Pine Grove project in one of the recent construction co-op agreements that you saw that was cycling around. So there is a way for the
How long ago did that money come in?
it came in June. So after the project is completed, then you go through the closeout process. There's an accounting process, an admin process to close out the books. It takes a while, and you can tell from the date when the Plymouth Roundabout was completed to us receiving the residual, maybe 7 years later.
Was there any strings in that money where it had to go?
Yes, CMAQ money has strings.
Oh, CMAQ, okay.
Yes, CMAQ money, yes.
Okay.
John, there was an email, in that email string, someone said that they talked to HQ and they said we couldn't get the money back. But I think he commented that at least the county couldn't, but maybe ACTC could?
Right. There was a little semantics.
Whatever, yeah, I didn't quite follow what that meant, but
Right.
that you'd have to take up the battle.
I think that's what they're alluding to, but I think it relates to what I mentioned on the Plymouth Roundabout project. The closeout process has to be undertaken. So the idea that the money could be transferred from one project to another, that's not really the way the process works, because they have all these projects programmed in project development phases, environmental, right-of-way, construction, throughout the state. And each project has to undergo a closeout process, whether it's completed or not. And so the example that we have most recently is the Plymouth project, that it took 7 years. Richard and I were in a meeting last week with Caltrans staff and posed this question to them, how long a closeout process could potentially take for the Pine Grove project. And they said there would be an administrative and an accounting period, and they estimated 1 year for each, which I thought was pretty optimistic based on our experiences.
Right.
Could you comment from the school's perspective, any thoughts on there about what their buy-in is or what their excitement level is? Or, I mean, it sounds like there's zero buy-in.
That's a good question, Dan.
I know, that's what I'm asking, I guess.
So I had a conversation with the interim superintendent on this, and what's being proposed, because of the signal that's being proposed to be at the intersection of Pine Grove, Volcano Road, and Highway 88, the egress point for the campus, school campus that's currently onto Highway 88 would be relocated down off of Pine Grove, Volcano Road. And that change was viewed as a positive, because they have a problem with stacking of vehicles and such, and this would increase the queue length for them on their property. I did also point out that proposed egress is going to be fairly, kind of steep, up to about 15% of a grade. And I said, just so you understand, because it's a lot different than what you have now, and it's on a north-facing slope. And the comment I had, and I don't want to, I can't, what I received from him is, well, that's something we can, he wasn't too concerned with it. They take care of that. They dealt with conditions like that in the various, further up in Pioneer or whatever. So I took that took him for his word and said, okay, whether you want to agree with that or not is up to anyone's opinion, but there wasn't necessarily any pushback or concern that this project was of a detriment to the school.
Okay.
So really, the signalization of the intersection kind of forces the relocation of that exit point. Or what it does, it doesn't necessarily relocate it, but it would turn it into a right-hand out only. You wouldn't be able to turn left and go across traffic, given its proximity to the signalized intersection.
I have one question on that. Would people physically be unable to turn left?
Is there gonna?
They're gonna.
They were talking about a high curb or a pork chop, weren't they, Richard? At least in conversation.
Yeah. It's something, would there be a physical barrier in the middle of the road? I would say no. But it would be a requirement that Caltrans would say, all right, if you're going to signalize in this intersection, that egress needs to be right out only.
Because I see that down at Walgreens. If you're coming to Walgreens, you can turn left to Pine Grove or right to Ione. Okay, a lot of people want to go towards Pine Grove, Sutter Creek, or Jackson. And so that means if you turn right, you have to either put more traffic going around towards Safeway, or you have to take a little, or ACTC, or you have to go do a U-turn somewhere. And so most people I know, if there's no traffic around, they just turn left. And people say, who in the hell is responsible for that? And I'm like, but it's something I can see. If there's nobody around, people are not going to want to turn right. It's just human nature. They just, it makes no sense, and they're going to turn left. So, I can see where the pluses and minuses. If you have somebody trying to turn left in heavy traffic, you might have a wreck. If you have somebody turning left, nobody around, you're probably saving the climate and maybe wrecked somewhere else. On another item, though, what happens if bids come in too high? Can the money then come back and be used for other purposes?
That's a good question, because obviously the reason for not moving forward with the project is totally different. Because to me, the project is scaled down as much as can be scaled down. If you do anything else, there's no project left. So from that standpoint, I think that would be, I don't have the answer, but I think it certainly would be a good discussion. It would be a different type of discussion. And probably with you might get a different answer out of that question.
And just item of interest, it's part of what had a lot of heartburn among some current board members and past board members is a lot of the funds being used here could have been used on local roads. It is a state highway there. Some of the stuff is nice to have done, like the crosswalk down by as far as the town hall. That's probably a pretty useful thing. Not opposed to that, but I'm looking at at one time this project was going to pave Highway 88, and I'm looking and going, that'd be like us going out and paving Highway 88 going to Clements or somewhere like that. Yeah. So there was a lot. I think there's some mistakes were made early on in this project. It took wings. They had a context-sensitive solution where they asked people, what do you want in life up there in Pine Grove? Well, I went there and they had pictures of Italian villas with fountains and they painted this image to people. And people said, we want that. Well, it's not realistic. So anyway, it ran us down a very bad road. And I think over the years, some board members did some good damage control and I think made it smaller. I still have a lot of heartburn with it, not as much as I did. Yeah, I'd like to know where if bids are too high, what happens then. And as far as what Supervisor Crew was saying about maybe having Ramona talk to them nicely, it may be a thought. It's kind of, the board has to figure out the plus and minuses where we're going. And I was reading some of the emails, John, that you'd given me, you never really got it's kind of a fuzzy answer from Mr. Parminder Singh. Like one of them, it talks about time of use of fund rules of CTC, California Transportation Commission, will be applicable, which are more strict than federal, and if project is not complete, then all expenditures done previously need to be returned to the respective pot of funds. Okay, and my question would be, okay, is it going back to our STIP or RIP share funds where we can use? Doesn't really say that in this email. That's a question we probably ought to know. Because this goes back to the pot. Well, which pot controlled by who? Maybe, I don't know if you can give me that answer or not. Give us that answer.
It's kind of going down a rabbit hole of process at CTC. If I could just encapsulate it, the state operates like with an annual checking account, and it's called obligational authority. Every year, they total up all the county's expectations of how much federal and state money they're going to spend, and then they get authorization to allocate or to spend that money on projects in whatever phases the projects are in. Well, the state for years has been underperforming in delivering its allowed obligation authority because of project delays, like this one. Pine Grove should have gone to construction probably 3 or 4 years ago and had the obligation authority established to do that. And I think what the CTC is saying is that we need to start delivering projects, and we can't keep having projects delayed. And if this one's going to be delayed, we'll just take that money that was programmed and put it to a project that's ready to go. And we
Didn't really say that.
got to read between the lines a little bit. Yeah.
Well, the question
That doesn't
again-
mean that that will be in the county. That would be anywhere that Caltrans dictates.
Anywhere the CTC, the California Transportation Commission, sees a good project that's ready to go. And then we would be left to try to scramble and fight to get that money back over time. That would be our challenge.
I have a couple questions. So one, so the right-hand turn, Pine Grove Volcano Road, where would be the nearest like U-turn spot be? Because that's what's going to happen. I can see it happening already and just envision. If everybody's forced to turn right, they're going to have to turn around somewhere with somebody's driveway or business or what have you. I don't know how I wonder how that's going to function because I wonder how. I mean, I could probably just go up there and sit and see how many cars go back up the hill or back down the hill. They're going to go back onto 88. How are they going to get back to 88?
Well, they're going to turn left there. Where we were originally talking about left is out of the school originally. But if we, with the alternate coming out of the school, you'd be able to turn left or right on that road, on
Okay.
on Volcano Pine Grove Road.
Is that's correct?
Right, and so, say if you wanted to leave the school and head up country,
Yeah.
you'll be directed onto Pine Grove Volcano Road, and you can either take the scenic route, turn
Got it.
right and take the scenic route, or turn left, come up to the intersection.
Okay.
And turn left at the
Got it.
signalized
Okay,
intersection.
that makes more sense. Sorry, I was not clear on that.
Sure.
I mean, that intersection, I mean, I've sat there for, I don't know, 5 or 10 minutes at a time, even on non-busy days. I mean, you hit the ski traffic or whatever, it's always a little bit of a wait out there. Background, I mean, I rotated off and on ACTC when I was my city council situation, and this project was there then. I mean, I was watching it it was always debatable, it was always on or off, we didn't really know, and here we are. And so you're saying this is a scale down, it's about as scaled down as it can get. And so, a ballpark for the public's edification, how much money have we spent up to this point now, pre-planning? I know it's been a bunch. I know it's been tough to watch. It has been.
It's estimated about 7.1 million has been spent on with PS&E, with your right-of-way and utility coordination, and the upfront with the environmental document and the project alternatives process and such. So, yeah, and it's been a long time. It's been a number of years, and the dollars add up over time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's been about a little over $7 million roughly invested in the project up to this point.
And I'm leaning towards it because I'm thinking this thing does not die, and it comes back again. Here we are. I mean, it's like if it does, it does. It's a quiet whatever. But if it keeps coming back, it's just dragging out farther and farther. and we know the risks that are there. That's my concern.
John, is ACTC willing to take up this battle? If you're gonna have to be the front man if we do vote it down?
Well, Richard and I will follow your direction as given.
How much more money will the county spend that could be spent elsewhere? Even if we can't get some of the other money back, how much more money are we going to spend on this project in order to pull it off? Of money that we actually have a say of where it goes.
Not much.
Well, if everything goes as planned, it appears that we have enough money already set aside to complete the project.
It can't be used anywhere else.
Correct. It's obligated for this project.
But the RIP shares is the biggest one, right, John?
Right.
And RIP shares can be transferred between projects? With the
No,
federal one, you couldn't. That, where we just switched out, didn't we take some RIP shares back? Put that,
We received the residual in CMAQ for the federal money and from the Pine Grove project that we were able to put on Pine Grove. We actually had savings in the right-of-way phase. The county didn't have to purchase all the right-of-way for the entire original section. We had estimated about $3 million. That came in with a savings of $1.2 million that we were able to move on to the construction phase. So the numbers you see in your funding table show a total of $6 million in a RIP. That's a combination of the 1.2 savings from right-of-way, along with an additional 4.8 of new shares that we had been apportioned. So the money, again, the RIP money, once it's programmed, and we did ask the CTC to program it into the STIP 2 years ago. That was an action that the ACTC took on behalf of Amador County. Once that's programmed to a phase, it needs to be spent on that phase within a certain time period. And that's where the comments about lapsing time periods came in those conversations. We can ask for extensions, and we have in the past when we haven't completed a particular phase. I think we did that for PS&E, PND. But you can only ask for one or two extensions, and then at that point, you're risking the loss of the funds again back to the state pool. It can't be transferred from one project to another readily. It can eventually, again, once you finish the closeout process and complete the project and have all the accounting and administrative details reconciled.
You know, Mr. Gedney, I had a question for you. You gave me some emails. One of them was dated, it was from Parminder Singh to you. And Navarre may add more after this, whether East 76 through federal resources along the RIP, if any, is a process, yada, 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 and talk about time use of fund rules of CTC would be more applicable, and talks about need to be returned to respective pots of funds. And then you went and said, thank you, Parminder. Yes, that's a question the Board of Supervisors will have next Tuesday. If the project doesn't go forward, will there be any penalties and or loss of RIP funds, either the funds that have already been spent in PAED, PSE, and in the right of way, or the current 4.84 million in RIP program? Is there a definitive answer to that question? That yes, there is a risk of loss of RIP funds or requires to repay anything that's already been spent, yada, yada, yada. We need to share information to the county supervisors in the meeting next week. I haven't heard a definitive answer from you or him on that yet. Did you have one?
Oh, we did. We actually received one from the project manager. Parminder is our local assistance engineer contact, and he deferred to the project manager. Actually, I contacted Grace McSayo, the district director, and she got me in contact with her deputy over project management. And he's the one who provided the response that we're looking at now, that they did go to headquarters. Headquarters talked to CTC staff, and you saw their response. That was from the deputy.
I don't have a response here.
I forwarded you the email from Gerwinder mentioning that the RIP funds would likely be lost to the state pool. That was
okay.
That was from Grace's deputy director of program management after contacting headquarters and CTC staff.
what are they gonna say? Hey, you want to give these guys the money back? No, okay. I think we ought to put up a battle. I just can't, it's a sinking ship. You said it yourself. We got 7 million in it. We're gonna put 9 more for a project that very few people want. That's a tough one for me.
Yeah, I think if I could be frank, I think the CTC
Please
is
do.
looking at us as advancing this project for the last 20 years. Initially started with a federal demo earmark from Representative Lundgren. And then after that, ACTC and the county consistently programmed Amador region shares for 20 years to this project. I think if I were in their shoes, I'd think, well, you know, what are they doing? They've been wanting this project for 20 years. They've scaled it back down, like Supervisor Neto says, from the context-sensitive solutions where we had a $70 million bypass alternatives. The county did take it over after ACTC finished the environmental document, and you remember that? You remember
Yeah, I'm thinking, wow.
Remember all that?
Bypass. I mean, my gosh. Where the houses they're going to tear down, I mean, yeah,
Right.
sorry.
It was characterized as a beautification project
Yeah.
at the time.
Correct, yeah.
Landscaping and all that. So the county took it over in 2015 with the intention of scaling it back, and it was a $40 million project at that time. And they scaled it back pretty quickly to 13, and it phased it, then 13 to 10, and now 8 to 7. I don't know how much more they can do to try to pare this down and make it a reasonable project. But I think that if I were CTC staff, that's what I'd be looking at that process. That what are they? What
But
are they
a lot
doing?
of the delay has been on Caltrans' side, if I.
There's blame to be shared.
Engineers and having to resurvey it.
There's blame to be shared all around on this thing.
Yeah.
I don't argue that point at all.
Yeah,
Would
I
it be
saw.
worth having Mona just look into it?
I don't think so. Frankly, I don't think so. I think the CTC has the prerogative again to move the projects to a project that's ready to go. They kind of would see us as wishy-washy, I think.
I don't think they're wrong. I mean, on this project in particular, I mean, it's always been, it just seemed like it was always just kind of sliding through, just kept making it to the next step. It's kind of do or die. I mean, I mean, I can see the benefits of the, you know, the ingress egress for the school district and the sidewalks. That's nice. I mean, we've already spent $7 million. That's tough. But
The largest landowner in Pine Grove does not want sidewalks on her property.
So I made a conscientious effort to knock on the door of every single registered voter in Pine Grove. I knew this might be coming up, so I took it to them. I've been involved in this project for 20 years as well, because every house I've lived in has gotten a letter that I might be involved in the project. And I've heard viable arguments on all sides of this argument, so I took it to the people, said, what do you think? And they said, well, are there plans to fix Taboo? No. Mount Zion? No. You know, they rattled off whatever road they respectively lived on, and I said, I don't know of a whisper in the ether for any of those roads. And they said, well, isn't that a state road? And I heard that often. And there were a lot of people who moved to Pine Grove because they were trying to find a place where they could live where there were no stoplights. And I heard that a lot as well. So that's what the people said.
Major Q told us we're not gonna get any money out of those same people. We gotta find it somewhere.
it sounds like killing this project's not going to get us much road money anyway. That's the other end of it. I mean, how much money is there to put in other roads? Because a lot of these roads, I think it's not just road maintenance, it has to be projects. It's like changing things, roundabouts, intersections, those types of things. It's not for pavement. It's for upgrades and changes largely, I believe.
How much we gotta leave in reserve for repairing the sidewalks 20 years down the road? I hear we're responsible. Is that,
Well, the sidewalks that are part of the project are replacing existing sidewalks with the reduced scope. The original scope, we were extending sidewalks to the west down towards Ridge Road. But there is, if you go up there now and look, there are existing sidewalks basically within the area that we're looking at. So to me, that's replacement. Now, this may get into semantics, but we don't have a maintenance agreement to repair those sidewalks now. And if we're just replacing in kind, we're not adding to the system, I don't know why we would need to, this is my opinion. You know, I wouldn't necessarily propose or be a proponent of taking that maintenance over. Now, if we were adding sidewalk infrastructure up there, it may be a different argument. Because typically, if my experience, whether it's here or where I came from in Wisconsin, the state highway, the state's focus is the highway. If a community wants to put in parking lanes or sidewalks or beautification, decorative lighting, whatever, that usually became the local responsibility. But I would say, and I don't know how the sidewalks got up there now, but they're there now. And I would say that if we're just replacing in kind, that, you know, I wouldn't be openly looking to go to maintain those.
All right.
Now, that would be an argument we probably would have with the Caltrans.
We don't seem to be getting much where with them.
You know, I've talked with other,
Hey, here deal.
yeah, well, I've talked with other directors in other counties, and they're always trying to, this has been a battle with other counties, with Caltrans as well. And, you know, I've heard other directors say, you know, for whatever you do, don't sign those agreements, because it's a facility in Caltrans right away. Why would you want to take on that responsibility? And so, you know, that's going to be an argument. But in my opinion, because we're just replacing what's there, and what's there is not under an agreement for us to maintain, I don't know why we would want to step up and accept that freely.
And then too, with the the light there too, are there crosswalks going to be, I assume to be crosswalks? How many kids do we know that like use that road? There's not a lot of housing immediately right there. Is there a lot of kids that cross the highway or cross, Pine Grove, Volcano Road? Or
I couldn't tell you that. I don't know.
that would be that would be a major thing if that was a thing.
Well, I dropped my daughter off there for 7 years. I now drop my grandson off there. I went to school there.
Yeah.
I sat at this intersection because I knew this was coming, and I've watched it.
Yeah.
I maybe a couple of days a week, somebody crosses the highway there.
Okay.
It's not common. This project has nothing to do with the ingress, which is where the cars back up all the way out
Right.
around the corner and up to Buckhorn.
Yep.
And they're still going to be there.
Okay.
I've heard arguments on both sides. It's just I don't see this as fixing the problem.
Do we
No,
want to,
I agree with that, but it's the problem we have now. For some reason, John, I don't know why I couldn't find that email where that gentleman, Masood, replied back. Oh, so what exactly was in that email? In best of your memory. As
Yeah,
far as the use of the funds, how,
I can pull it up by phone. I think.
how long ago was it?
I think you characterized it that it was, or you characterized it as that ACTC might have more leverage with CTC. but
Right.
Headquarters, Caltrans headquarters has spoken with CTC staff. They're aware of this issue, and they have determined that this funds would be returned to the state pool.
like calling headquarters?
Yeah.
I think we got to give them the money back? No. Oh, okay.
Well,
You know, I think that just
That
to
might
address
be
the argument of the,
Oh, it is tough.
it's a state facility, and I think, I think that's the big, the bone in our, or the bee in our bonnet, that why are we fixing a state highway?
Yeah.
And we've had this debate at the ACTC for the last couple of years, and you as chair of the ACTC led our effort to address this directly and completely change our policies to not work on state highway projects ever again. Kind of a remember the Pine Grove situation, And
Not to mention whittle it down from 19 pages to 3.
exactly. And so our number one priority is fix the roads, and all the projects that were previously envisioned to be funded jointly were moved off of our official Tier 1 list. All we have now is pavement rehab projects. So I think you've done a great job to address this issue of why are we working on state highway projects? And you can go down a rabbit hole on why this happened, but it really was something that was put in place about 30 years ago with a change in funding responsibility and programming responsibility. And I'm glad that, this has come up so that we have kind of woken up to this.
Oh, no, I mean, I look at an old email, because years ago, Supervisor Plaza and I were trying to either kill this thing, in which we couldn't, and then finally reduce it. And I had this email it was about this long from some lady, I'm not sure, I can't remember, from a lady or a former supervisor from upcountry, about how the project was on schedule and under budget and yada, 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 yada. I'd like to go and take the email back from us, hey, and they were lobbying not to kill it, and so here we are today. I kind of wonder what you're saying is, I don't like it, it's a bitter pill, I'm wondering we shouldn't go forward, I don't want to. I'm thinking about what Supervisor Cruz saying. Maybe we,
Take your licking and move on.
I guess maybe we take a whack at that and see what happens.
Yeah.
Because you're saying you're not gonna be done 2025 with construction anyway. If we went forward, it wouldn't be till 2026, so I mean, what would we lose to try to say, hey, we really don't, we want to put those funds on another project somewhere?
John, were you,
Lose all the money.
were you saying that we had previously worked on state facilities and then we've sort of set a precedence now where we're not going to do that anymore?
Your new chairman can tell you all about it.
So are we just reopening that back to where now we're going to work on state facilities by moving forward? Or are we just saying, okay,
This
let's
was
start it
already-
now? Let's just be,
In the process.
This one has been going on for 20 years.
yes.
We are at the end of the 20-year process to develop this project. We're at the end.
The three people I spoke to who were adamantly for this project, the second half of the conversation was how adamantly they were for getting, I'm not going to say the roads that they lived on, but those roads fixed as well. So, I mean, they were just as adamant about getting their own roads fixed. And I told them I haven't heard a whisper in the ether about that taking place, so.
Should we get public comment? We're ready for.
That'd be good, yeah, that'd be a good idea.
Anyone from the public want to comment on this issue? Please, come forward, sir. State your name if you would.
This is Jerry. Poor.
Oh,
Don't say Gerald.
Yeah, this is Jerry Poor, not Gerald Poor, citizen of Pine Grove. And I've been watching this project since its inception myself. I tend to watch way too many of these meetings. And first of all, of course, this is a state highway, not a county road. I don't understand why we've been beating this bush so hard. We want to put in sidewalks where we already have sidewalks. That's sort of confusing. If the project part and we're spending money on sidewalks where there are already sidewalks, so are we just going to tear out the existing ones and then put them back? I'm not sure that makes sense. We're talking about sidewalks where there's no population to get to them. There are no subdivisions in Pine Grove within any sort of walking distance that have sidewalks to access these sidewalks. There's no public parking in Pine Grove where somebody could park to go walking around on these sidewalks. And then we talk about the crossing at the town hall where there's already a crossing with the signal light. And there's no parking to use the town hall.
That's the problem. People park across the street and then walk across the 88.
Right, in private property. People are parking in other people's owned property where they own their businesses to use the county's town hall. And this has been addressed by the property owners. Mr. Novaki, who owns the building next to town hall, was a continuous problem. I rented there for about a decade, and I would come to work at times and not be able to park because the town hall had taken all of our parking space.
I have some possible good news on that. I think it may have been, I can't remember if it's myself or Supervisor Crew or Supervisor Brown, but we're looking at the fire station. We're looking at maybe putting in what could be a town hall there. And that might might help with that issue.
The only reason I can see to proceed with this project is that we've spent money and there's some money to save, but we're just throwing money at something that isn't a solution. The school driveway is not really a solution to the school park problem. You know, the school problem is an ingress problem more than an egress problem. And then spitting people out on that super, super steep shaded driveway or shaded road with Pine Grove Volcano Road, we still once every couple of months have a truck get stuck coming out of the finesse carpet cleaning right there. That's gonna be a mess if we end up with another truck stuck and tow truck that bounds that all up for hours. I just don't see any positive reason to proceed with this project. This is finally the opportunity to quit spending staff money, quit spending our money. The state money's our money too. Just because it's come to the county and it gives us an opportunity to use it, you know, it's still all money that belongs to the public. And taking public money and using it irresponsibly on a project that isn't really wanted by the mass of Pine Grove makes zero sense to me.
Well, thank you.
Anyone else? Any Zoomers? All right, we'll bring it back to the board.
Well, I kind of like your idea of looking into seeing if we look deeper, dig deeper, is there an avenue to
Get
maybe
them all at the
recoup
table
those
one
funds?
time and use a little sprinkle of common sense down there.
It can't hurt.
But I think the biggest problem, I don't feel like ACTC's got their heart in tackling, which I probably wouldn't either if I was ACTC. If they're gonna have to be the liaison to get a meeting.
Yeah, no, I could see that.
Well, we're gonna lose money either way. So do we just lose it and look like fools? Or do we build something nobody wants to make sure we spend all that money? Those are two pretty poor choices.
One thing I could see that might be a positive there really is maybe being able to make a left turn at a I don't like stoplights. That being able to make a left turn out of there could be a positive. Probably would be a positive. But then you have a stoplight too, which probably is not a positive.
Well, we have, the question is, do we want to put this out to bid? I guess that's the question on the agenda for today.
If we wait to go check on those funds again, are we just delaying this again for another unforeseeable future?
No, I think we could probably have a definitive answer in 60
Fairly soon.
days, fairly soon.
I think so. What do you think, John, any idea on a timeline? Or Rich? Or as far as if we want to go and dig deeper CTC and say, hey, we'd really like to program these funds somewhere else or not go forward with this project?
Yeah, I don't know how long that time would take. I would say that if it takes 60 days or whatever, I mean, basically, we'll lose this year for construction. As it is,
We're right on the edge now.
yeah, we're running on the edge. I would have liked to had this thing bid out probably in October. And so that way, we would have had bids in December. If everything was going forward, we'd have a contractor on board and getting everything ready so they could, as soon as the weather would have cooperated, they could be working anytime. But we're 2-3 months past that. So that would be one of the things. We've extended TCEs, and I think it would probably cover another construction season. But we have to be careful because every time we push it out, and the TCEs don't only last for so long, I think we're fine. I think they go through 27.
And that's temporary construction easements?
Yeah.
just because they've never done it before doesn't mean we can't push the issue and try to get it. Because Fiddletown Road is really almost ready to go anyway, right? We could give them an alternate project.
So Fiddletown Road is currently in design phase. Hopefully, we could get that, at least part of it. I submitted 2 projects on Fiddletown Road. They adjoin each other. I did that so that, if there was, how the funding was, maybe there'd be enough fund to maybe not fund the whole section, but part of it or whatever. And so one section of that was funded and the other section was not when we went and for the local projects, if you recall from last year. We're moving forward with engineering for both projects, so whenever future funds come up, we'll be ready to go, basically shovel ready on that second section. So right now, the section that was funded is from just east of the town limits up to Hale Road. And then the second section would be Hale Road up to Brockman Mill. We're going to do the engineering for that whole thing, but
Right, that's
we're only funded up to Hale Road right now.
what I'm,
But there's a, we go through a process, the agencies submit projects to ACTC and ACTC looks at them, makes a recommendation. Then that gets sent down to the California Transportation Commission for approval. So I don't know what's involved in switching up funds, if you can just do a lateral transfer from one project to another, or do you have to just go back and start over,
Well, that's a question we'd like to know.
and say, because maybe the next time they review them, there's other projects that may be more worthy. And we're kind of bypassing the review process by skipping ACTC as well, as far as, because maybe a city here in the county has a real good project that they want to put forward and such. So, maybe more worthy of the funds than Fiddletown Road. I'm not saying that it would be, but, there's that possibility. So how that process can get circumvented, I think that has to be answered probably here at the local level through ACTC as well as CTC.
right.
That would be my opinion on it.
John, could you get us a meeting with a guy who could make the decision in person? A couple supervisors, maybe me and Logan?
Yeah, I can do that.
And explain to them that just because they haven't done it before doesn't mean it's not a good idea.
Right.
Pat's pretty good at selling stuff, so,
There you
hey. Maybe
Yes, sir,
sell
yes.
him a new set of tires, Pat.
Yes, right. Yes, sir, yes.
As you wish.
Figuratively speaking.
Yeah. So I
Okay.
think it's worth a shot.
I'm fine with that.
Sounds good.
So want to just continue this, Chuck?
Yeah, next meeting?
Leave it on the agenda? and-
That's the theme of this whole thing, is continue it.
Had a schedule on budget.
There we go.
At least we're not voting to waste.
No, that's
another
fair. No, that's fair.
$9,000. Yeah.
Oh,
Thank you.
We can go down to them, whatever's convenient. Just tell them to pick a day when they're feeling magnanimous and we'll be there.
If we're going to continue it, can we, at least somebody writes a memo about this whole process and we frame it and we hang it on a wall? So that the people who follow us, like, we cannot.
Never forget.
The sentiment I got from all of those voters was this whole process is demoralizing to them.
not just them, me too.
Well, so we can't, let's stop
You
it
have to
now.
reject the project, though.
I don't know what would demoralize them less at this point, so I'm going to guess and vote on that. But if we want to wait till next meeting, then
I don't particularly want to. I was just trying to figure out, to keep everybody somewhat happy.
I mean, I will
The
add,
question is to send it out for bid, yes or no? That's really the only thing we have to decide today.
Or we put that on the next agenda and we decide at that point. So we give 2 more weeks to just check on the
We
phone.
can just let it hold just like it is.
Yep,
Okay.
okay.
I'll make a motion, we table that until next meeting.
Do we need to have a motion?
No, but we will agendize this a little bit differently for next meeting, just to really kind of change the focus of the question. So for now, we're going to take the answer is we're not going to go forward with the ITB, but next week, if the board decides you want to, you can do that, or you could do something else, depending on the answers we get from.
On the motion.
Or should we vote the ITB down then?
I don't think you need a motion. So basically, what staff will do is bring back sort of the bigger question about going forward with the project, what recourse we might have with the state. I mean, so, because right now it's either yes or no on the bid. That doesn't really deal with anything else, the bigger picture. You know, you could say, well, there's something wrong with the text of the bid document. We're not going to do that today. So I think what staff is just going to bring back sort of a different,
It'll be a different item.
a rearranged item.
All right,
Same, yeah,
more into the question.
or accurate.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Mr. Chair, do you have members that we should be working directly with?
Well, Logan he's a
Happy to
supervisor.
volunteer.
Yeah. Happy to,
Happy to volunteer.
okay.
And yourself?
Either Brian or me. Brian's been on here from the start, but
You're a pretty good salesman, Pat. If you'd like me to, I will, but I think, you can be very persuasive. Sometimes I might just say something, make somebody mad.
okay.
really?
I gotta find somebody to listen to me.
There you go.
Well, tell them what I think made the process or whatever, and something else, and then, yeah.
Okay. All right,
Logan and you?
yeah.
Mr. Chair? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Supervisor.
And we
Thanks,
want to
Tom.
talk to somebody who can make a decision,
Okay.
even if it's no. You just, don't put it off to committee and we'll have to call headquarters and all that.
Okay.
Okay?
Will do. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
And we'll leave Mona out of it and just see if we can. Okay?
Yes. Yes, sir.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, fellas. You want a break now? Take a 7-minute break?
Yeah.
8-minute break, come back at 25-2.
That'd be good.
We got people waiting, but let's take a little break. Called back into session. The next item on the agenda is 4D, consideration of a request from Amador County elected officials to receive a salary, got pages stuck together, increase effective the same dates, percentage as other general bargaining units. This request does not include the Board of Supervisors. Thank you very much. Suggested action.
Strike one.
Mr. Rooney.
Jim Rooney, Amador County Assessor. I'm representing the electeds here this morning. And our request is really pretty simple. We're requesting pretty much what everybody else received, the confidential units, management and mid-management. And there is one little difference, and that is we were asking, or we were suggesting that it, rather than take effect in October of '24, that it just take effect the first of this year. Makes it a little bit simple. And it's a pretty, I think we're the smallest of all units. There's just 6 of us. And that's pretty much our request, just so we can keep pace with the other units. And that's our request. If you have any concerns, questions, we're here to address those.
Board members?
Yeah, I have a question. So it looks like you're looking for 35 and 40-year longevity also?
You know, we did that, I think, mostly out of simplicity, just so it would all be the same. That's such a small issue. I talked to some of the other officials. I said, I don't particularly care. It would potentially affect one elected official in the next few years. That's not an issue that I find terribly important. Speaking solely for myself, if anybody has a disagreement, please let us know. I think it was for simplicity of being consistent with everything else. So.
Yeah, I guess where I have a little bit of a little heartburn is, well, first I'll say this. I think the elected officials we have do a very good job. I think, so it's not a problem there. I'm just looking at dollars and cents, and I understand your request. I want it to be the same as other management units. But I'm also looking at numbers. I'm looking at deferred maintenance in buildings. Mm-hmm. I think DA's office has maybe, not the DA's fault, it's more our fault than his. He's doing his job. We're responsible for maintenance of buildings, not him. So it's not his problem, it's our problem. I think it's about $1.4 million needs to be done there. I'm looking at roads. It's not tens of millions. It's probably well over $100 million we're behind.
Yeah.
And I understand we can't make it all up on salaries. I mean, but over time, we probably could have made a little dent in it. And I think basically, I think it's about $12,776 a month is what electeds are paid. I think that's pretty fair and adequate. You know, so I mean, I'm not throwing this at you, Jim. You're the spokesman. I think you're a friend of mine. I think most of them are. Some may be mad at me over some dollars and cent items, but a lot of them are friends. Your friends. A lot of them are friends of mine that are elected officials. Sure. I think where you're at's adequate. That's my position.
All right. No, Brian, I appreciate you guys are the stewards of the county. You have to watch things, be careful. I understand that and I appreciate it. I do want to give you a little bit of history. A couple years ago or so, we had our salaries adjusted up pretty substantially. And the reason they were adjusted substantially was in about 2007, the real estate market really took a tank. I think we all remember that. In 2008, we actually had to reduce staff
decrease our budgets and went into 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, part of 14. And it was devastating. It was actually a good thing for our offices because we said, we have to be more efficient. We have to do things differently. We can't do things the way we're doing. Our budgets are being cut. So we became more efficient and we.
No, I remember you did, did well.
Yeah,
True.
and it was really hard, but it was a good thing. It was an exercise. And during that time, the elected officials, at the time, it was a few different ones. Todd and I were around, but for years, from about 2007 to about 14 or 15 or so, we would have our discussions and we would say, hey, you know what, we cannot be asking, or the county's not offering any raises, and the budget is as such that we can't ask in this environment. So there were 7 or 8 years that went by, and we weren't offered any increases. We didn't ask for any. We understood.
No, I remember I remember the numbers. There's a 0, 0s, maybe a COLA of 2%, a 0, maybe a 3%, 0, 0.
Yeah, and I think sometimes, I'm not even sure there was a COLA. But regardless, at the time we used to say, you know what we're going to do? We're going to be team players. We're going to be, which is what we thought was best for the county. Now it comes to the time in about 2022 or so, or 23, we looked and we were like 25% below all other counties. There was compaction with employees at the time. The general units were getting increases while we weren't. But we knew that. We saw that. And in a sense, we want to make sure that sort of thing doesn't happen again where elected or a certain group is down 25 or 30%, and then there has to be that 25 or 30% increase potentially all at one time, which I think is hard for the county. And the increase that the general unit got, or the management groups, 5.75. It's you were talking about maybe $100 million in roads, and there's
probably more actually.
Yeah.
That's a safe number, I think.
Sure. The increase we're asking for is a little less than $56,000.
You're talking yearly.
Yes, yeah.
All included.
Yeah. And that's compared with the increases from like management, which is about $475,000, mid-management $224,000, and confidential about $145,000. $845,000. Every dollar matters. I understand that. But we're just, I was thinking the other day, it was last night, I was standing in the store and I was looking at a little container of yogurt. And I said, that's $8. The inflation rate is, they'll say they don't include fuel and food, which is absolutely crazy. I don't know why they don't do that. The inflation rate's probably been 12 to 17% over the past few years. We all kind of know that. Things are more expensive. And so anyway, we were respectfully asking for just the 5.75% to keep pace with the other units. Not pace with inflation, but regardless. So that's
no. I mean, I don't think your request is unreasonable.
Sure.
I question the timing a little bit.
Yeah.
Budget's coming up in March.
Yeah. It seems to me, we talk about this. There's never good timing.
That's true.
Can you imagine elected officials, we don't get what we want, and we're going to be carrying signs in front of the building? We're not going to get sympathy from anybody. We understand. But regardless. But Brian, I understand your concern. And
and the thing is too, Jim, what you said about stuff going up. You used to be in the store with $20 and you bought your groceries and went home. Now you go in the store with $100 and then you reach in your wallet, get a little more to buy your groceries, go home. So I get that. It's just, I look at some of the infrastructure and stuff like that, and I kind of go, ugh. And I just think, you know, the 153,000 is a pretty good pay for Amador County. Now, I understand most electeds, and probably all of them, have a higher skill set. Some have, you know, probably master's degrees or close to it. And that's where I have a little bit of a heartburn, because I think some of the jobs require a higher skill set than others. And I don't think the electeds probably want to get in that food fight, but it's something I look at and think, well, okay, they're all being paid the same. That was trying to keep it all. I think it was probably a mistake on our part, but hey, I was a lone guy, or I lost that vote. So I just think the pays. So you're looking at 12,776 is low. That'd be like your assessor, auditor, clerk recorder, treasurer, tax collector, and then you have like your district attorneys, you know, 14,739. You have sheriff coroners, $15,279. That's pretty good money. And then you add in, you know, the benefits and health care, and that bumps it up a fair bit. I think the sheriff was at 334,000 and got an increase. So I don't know what he's at now. Cost the county probably 360, 370.
Any other supervisors care to comment?
You know, can I mention something to the new supervisors in a sense? As electeds, including you, we have a different sort of job. People don't go to my staff on weekends and say, hey, I want to talk to you about my assessment. A few years ago, it was a Sunday, somebody approached me on a sidewalk in Ione and said, Jim, I wanted to talk to you about my assessment. It was an older lady. She said, I wanted to, you know, I have a concern with it. And I said, you know what you should do? Why don't you call me at the office? I'll get all the paperwork out and we'll take a look at it and get it figured out. She said, Jim, I don't want to bother you at your office. You know, and that's what you guys are going to deal with, and we all deal with that. You guys know that. The roads aren't any good. Brian, you probably hear that all the times on...
Oh, I think I probably get chewed on more about the roads than you do about assessments. It might be a close race, though.
Yeah, but
roads are pretty bad.
Yeah, I understand. My point is, we are different than regular staff, just because people know they can come to us at any time or call at any time. And
No, I've had people that moved here from other areas, and they've talked about how nice it is dealing with people here. So I get that. It's like, yeah, you can actually talk to somebody and they help you, and it wasn't like that where we came from. Like, well, it's something we try. We work real hard to make it accessible here.
And overall, our county supervisors, elected, we are very responsive. Of course, people know us a little bit more than the larger counties. They would know the elected official. By the way, I've done a lot of talking. I wanted to ask, does anybody have anything they would like to add? Or, all right, well, if you do.
And understand what you're talking about, because I've told my wife more than once, we're in a hurry going somewhere. He says, honey, if I go in that store, that gas station, we're not going to get there in time.
Brian, you're number one at that one. I know. I have the same problem. If I go into Lowe's, somebody stops me.
Gotcha. And I don't mind. I like it, but
yeah, it's all right.
Just tell me.
Right.
Right?
What's that?
You have the same privilege, not the same problem.
Well, it's
Be approachable by the people.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, I like it, but I get in trouble with my wife when we're late.
My boys hate it when I say I want to go to the store.
Yeah, it was, so the impact, would it be to the general fund, or would it be other funds outside the general fund?
Yeah, can I ask, Tace, before the meeting, Tace had mentioned to me, and Chuck, you can confirm this or tell me it's not true, but has it already been budgeted?
Yes. Well, the 4%. We budgeted 4%.
Okay, okay.
And Chuck, is that from the general fund or from other
Yes,
funds?
it would all be, all 6 of the elected officials are out of the general fund.
Okay, very good, thank you.
We're only looking at a $1.75, 1.75%?
Yes, we had assumed 4 budget season last year, so.
Okay.
yeah.
That helps. As I said, I would, with the budget coming, I would rather see this included as all of the picture of the budget, because we're going to everybody, we gotta find $1.5 million somewhere. And you're right, we can't find it $40 at a time or whatever it is, but we gotta start thinking that way. But that there's, all 4% of it's already in there makes this pretty simple. Any public comment? Any Zoomers? Let's bring it back to the board. And you wouldn't have a panic attack if we dropped that 35 and 40-year long.
I wouldn't, and it sounds like they wouldn't either.
You got to get elected 8 times.
I know. That's hard.
Looking for a motion?
Yeah, this is a hard negotiation right up front here. My motion is to do, as originally budgeted, a 4% increase and not do the additional 35, 40-year longevity.
I'll second it.
Instead of the 5.75,
Yes, sir.
and no commitment to next year?
2020, yeah.
I'm just asking.
Yeah, no, I didn't even think about it, to be honest.
They asked about it, yeah.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries 4-1. Thank you very much.
Hey, thank you for your consideration on behalf of all the electeds. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are my taxes or my assessment going up on my house now?
Only 4%, not the 5. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right. 4E is transfer of parcels to AWA pursuant to a 2003 asset transfer agreement.
Yes, good morning Supervisors. I've taken the lead in moving this forward. This is as explained in the staff report, cleanup from a 2003 transfer of all the county's water and sewer infrastructure and to AWA. If you looked at the agreement, it was a pretty lengthy agreement with a lot of attachments, a lot of assets to be transferred. I think it was anticipated that there might be stuff that was mistakenly left out. AWA's done an inventory of what they have, and they have water infrastructure on parcels that they got from us, although there's no record of the transfer of the actual real property. So what this is just the county granting a grant deed, which is essentially you get what the county had to AWA. It should clear up their issue on their end, so they, on paper, they own and control everything that they should.
Yeah, basically looked like it's just an
Yeah.
oversight, something.
Yeah.
And I don't see a problem with it. Just clean it up.
Yeah. So the recommendation is to approve the resolution. The resolution takes care of everything. That will get recorded along with the grant deeds. It'll still be up to AWA to accept the property, but since they've asked us to do it, I assume they will.
All right. Any other comments? Any public comment? Any Zoomers? All right, we'll bring it back to the board.
Yeah, I'd make a motion approving the resolution transferring the 2 parcels to AWA.
Second.
Right, we had a motion by Supervisor Neto, second by Supervisor Brown. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. 4F are the 2025 committee assignments. discussion and possible action. I worked on those pretty hard, and I think I went over them with everybody. Jeff found a couple that we misfires, and Brian found one. And last night, we had one that still had 4 stern acts on it. So we took care of that, too. So, anybody have any heartburn or what?
Well, the agricultural and natural resources, it was going to be yourself and Supervisor Neto.
Yeah.
As a change.
Yeah,
And I believe Brown's probably going to joint water. The water, joint water. You wanted to be on that last time, isn't it?
What's that?
You wanted to be in the water, joint water, didn't you, last time?
No, I can back off of there, so I was
Okay.
fine with that.
Okay.
okay.
And then the CSAC, the CSAC, the TBDs, are those already filled in or no?
No, we got to do those.
What?
It's the alternate for CSAC and RCRC, right?
Okay, I make a motion that Epperson and Carnell do an arm wrestling right in front of us to see who
Let's
gets.
do this, all right.
Well, they both showed
Do
it
that
at
to an old man.
So I was just, question on those committees, does it have to be all the same person or can it be different ones?
It should be the same, the CSAC should be the same person.
Right, okay.
Now, the other one to be determined is
The alternate.
the alternate for NACO. Both of those are alternates. The one thing I did not participate too much is in NACO, so I honestly don't know where that one's going. That will be a new,
I'd be the alternate on that, the NACO one.
so you want to be all?
And then my only interest was on the housing, land use, and transportation for the CSAC.
Yeah, it's all in one.
All in one? Well,
Like 3
Yep,
different.
so you take one, you take them all.
well, Logan, do you have any care particular? Or?
I'd love for you to have them. I don't,
Why, thank you for filling my plate full.
welcome.
All right, thank you.
Did you get that, Jennifer? Okay.
One question, Sarah Duarte.
Yes, she is our, what is,
Resource.
yeah,
Risk manager.
risk manager.
Oh.
And so it's just,
You'll be chatting
Could've
with
asked
her.
that sooner.
Workman's comp claims and that. All right. Any public comment on these committee assignments? Okay, got an okay from Joey, so.
And I do have one question on, so ACT, when do they meet, you know? I was trying to figure out when the meeting times.
I think it's is it first Thursday? It's 9
Okay.
o'clock.
Because I was trying to figure out the third Thursday, I have an IBCA meeting I like to be at in Ione there. I wasn't sure if there's conflicts there or not. I was just trying to figure out
ACT meets at what, the Hotel Center?
Oh, ACT.
ACT.
We still have yet to discover when a lot of these meet.
Right. That was my only
If
thing.
there's conflicts in the future, or they can be sorted out, I assume.
Okay. Because I guess I only have that one Thursday. I'd like to keep that blocked off. I'm not sure what the meeting schedule is. I was trying to sort that out earlier, but other than that, I'm fine.
Okay. Suggested action, we need to assign these, so I would entertain a motion to approve the amended committee assignments.
I'll make that motion.
All right?
I'll second.
Okay. Motion by Supervisor Oneto, second by Supervisor Carnell. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. 4G, review and possible approval of the December 17th Board of Supervisors meeting. Any questions, errors?
I saw one name was spelled wrong. Can't remember who it was. Oh, Leland Ruddock. It should be with an O, not an I.
Yeah,
Under public comment.
Ruddock.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you catch that, Jennifer?
Don't want Leland upset. We'd hear about it.
All right, I'd entertain a motion on that.
so moved with those changes?
Yeah, with the changes. Was that you, Brian?
Nope. It's either Epperson or Brown.
Oh, I think Brown probably.
All right,
I think we said at the same time, so Brown, it's all you.
and be the second.
All right, very good.
All right,
Take it either way.
motion by Supervisor Brown, second by Supervisor Epperson to approve the minutes with minor corrections. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. With that, this meeting is adjourned.